was an advantage for them.
Detroit trying to stay alive.
First 4 wins, though.
Oh, Cunningham lacing a triple. Cunningham, good.
It starts and ends with Cade Cunningham.
Oh, they just grabbed this game by the throat. A 16-2 run. It is getting treacherous.
You're not going to go down without kicking, punching, grabbing, clawing.
The Pistons are checking every box.
You're going to have to choke the life out of this team.
We go to a Game 7.
It is a win or go home scenario in Detroit for the Pistons and Cavs. Sunday night won't be these teams' first rodeo in a Game 7 this postseason. Both of them snagged Game 7 home wins in the first round, with Cleveland taking down Toronto and the Pistons pulling off the 3-1 comeback already against Orlando. Now, speaking of Game 7s at the crib, Detroit is a perfect 5-0 at home in Game 7s, tied for the most wins without a loss in that situation. With a dub, the Pistons would be the 8th 60-win team to win multiple Game 7s in one postseason. Now, for Cleveland, they've got James Harden entering Game 7 with a 4-4 record while averaging just 19 points per game on 35% shooting. Meanwhile, Donovan Mitchell is looking to get the monkey off his back and advance past the semis for the first time in 5 tries. So with all that context surrounding this here Game 7, let's get some thoughts from Brian Windhorst on that and more. Momentum has been swinging in this series, Brian, between the Cavs and Pistons like a pendulum. So who has the edge come Sunday night?
Well, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to play a huge role in this one. You may recall that just a couple of days ago, he had a 39-point half. That was obviously a huge moment in this series. But since then, the Pistons have won the battle against Donovan Mitchell. In the last 2 games, he is just 10 of 35 from the field, other than that overtime period. Now, that overtime period was important. He made all 3 of his shots in Game 5. But Asar Thompson and Cade Cunningham have done a great job heads up on defense against Donovan Mitchell. I suppose it's possible he's been worn down a little bit. He has played a lot of minutes this postseason. But if Donovan Mitchell can't get back to playing the kind of efficient basketball he was earlier in the series, it's going to be difficult for the Cavs to go into Detroit and win Game 7.
Wendy, we already know the last 2 out of the West. Western Conference Finals tip Monday. It is the foregone conclusion of Thunder versus Spurs. We know the 2-time MVP. We know the unanimous DPOY. Who else should we monitor as this series gets underway?
Well, I would argue that the most important news we've had in the last week in the NBA has been Jalen Williams announcing on his YouTube page that he's coming back for the start of this series, which is interesting because last year he announced on his YouTube page that he had gotten over 30 pain-killing injections in his hand to deal with issues he had with that thumb during the playoffs. So this is a news-making situation. Look, he has not played in almost a month with that hamstring injury. He's only played in 2 playoff games. He was awesome in those 2 playoff games, in case you forgot. He shot 62% before he re-injured that hamstring. And so for him to come back against a Spurs team that really wants to use its perimeter defense to apply pressure to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, giving the Thunder that other weapon to go to, could potentially be game-changing. And they kept their lips a little bit tight about Jalen's status. He went ahead and showed his cards, but they obviously were able to save him through this last round. And his ability to come back and be the player he was at the end of the regular season could be a difference maker in this series.
No question about that. He has been pivotal as far as their success early on in this here championship run. We'll see if he can be another contributor in this go-round. Brian Windhorst, we appreciate it, sir.
Game 1 Monday night, but these 2 teams have tangoed in the regular season. In San Antonio, 4-0 against the defending champs in the regular season. They outscored the Thunder 114-109 per game. Now the Thunder get their shot at revenge, trying to flip the script in the series that matters most if they want to defend their NBA title. NBA analyst Quentin Richardson and senior NBA writer Vince Goodwill join the program. Men, good morning to you. Q, let's start here. Those were the numbers for the regular season, but the playoffs, like you mentioned in the commercial break, an entirely different animal. What intrigues you most about this series?
Man, fellas, I'm excited to see Wemby versus Chet. Mm-hmm. This has been brewing since they played internationally with the USA versus France and the under, I want to say 16s or 17s, and Chet got the best of them. But after seeing the videos and the compilation of them playing against each other, this is probably the first time I could say that Wemby doesn't really like Chet. And I can't say that about Wemby I don't think anybody else. So from that standpoint alone, and the back and forth from them since high school coming up playing against each other. I want to see them in the series. I want to see the two tall guys go at it and get it on. I want to see this matchup.
I love how there's underlying beef that goes from the U17 ranks to now the biggest stage in basketball.
Yes.
Vince, what is the biggest question you have heading into this series?
Yeah, I'm drawn in by Skinny Bowl too, but you also have to remember Oklahoma City being without Jalen Williams since early in the Phoenix series. We don't know what his health looks like with that hamstring. It's been bothering him all season, all playoffs. They can't win if he's not all the way right. But for San Antonio, Steph Castle has turned into their second best player. He actually led them in scoring and assists in the series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. A highly efficient player. He's going to be one of the main defenders on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you got to attribute a lot of that to Steph Castle and, of course, to Victor Wembanyama. Their 1-2 game, I think it's going to be something that Oklahoma City is going to have a lot of trouble with.
Steph Castle hit 5 threes, 32
Area
points, a
51.
game high. Come on now. Hey, I appreciate those answers, fella. That's going to do it for me. Good segment.
We still have
I'm done.
We still have half
my
of
segment. It's a wrap. I'm not going back in.
You're not.
I'm not going back in.
Okay, so that actually dovetails pretty nicely into what we saw from Ant Edwards. And Q, I want to start with you. This man left the floor. We're going to remind the people he left the floor about 8 minutes to. What do you make of this show of sportsmanship when there's that much time left in the game?
Man, I think it was a situation where he was probably on the bench and he was frustrated. Like, can't believe that, this much time left. The game is over, it's decided. And it's one of them things that I think he just had a just spur of the moment reaction and it was just like probably a frustration type thing. And let me just show love so I could just bounce right out of here after the game. I don't want to do this after the game.
Vince, what was your perspective on what we saw from Edwards there in that moment?
Hey, we're not gonna get over you taking a shot at Isaiah Thomas. We gonna come back to you on that one. We're not having that here. But let's also be honest. The Olympics are next year. We don't want anybody to say Anthony Edwards is a bad sport. We can't send him to LA because we know that has cost people spots on the Olympic team because all of a sudden shaking hands is important. But I think I agree with Q though, y'all. It's really important, I think, for Anthony Edwards to know that, let me shake these guys' hands before the frustration really sets in. When you got 8 minutes left, that's a lot of time to sit on the bench and stew and be frustrated, and you're down 30. So you know what? Let me go over here while some of the game is still fresh on me and everything else, and let me dap these guys up so I can sit on the bench, and at the end of it, when the buzzer goes off, I can take my behind straight to the locker room.
Mm-hmm. I might be a little slow, but was that a 92 Dream Team reference there? Is Gary's back?
Yeah.
Gary's back.
I don't want the tabloids to be writing it. We don't need the outlets to be writing anything up about Gary and Randy beefing, So
Here on SportsCenter, Pistons win by 21 last night to keep their season alive. Q, what made the difference for Detroit to force a Game 7?
Man, it was the bench. The bench scoring. The bench for the Detroit Pistons came out 48-19 and trumped them. And I mean, we've seen this before. I watched it with the Orlando series. Detroit got their backs against the wall and they didn't blink. They walked it down and they showed the ability to do that in this postseason. And they talked about it in the previous games. It's the first of 4, not the first of 3, and they were going to do what they had to do to get it back at their home building for Game 7. And here we are.
Yeah, and that was the 4th straight win for the Pistons when facing elimination, their longest streak in a single postseason in franchise history, Brian.
And, that was a really good point by you, Q, because you look at Paul Reed with 19 points off the bench. Duncan Robinson knocks down 4 threes. So now as the series shifts back to Detroit for Game 7, give us the Q-tips for each team. Let's start with the Pistons.
Yeah, I would say it's the same. Stick to the script. You know that Cade Cunningham is your leader. He's going to be the guy that powers the way and does everything that you need to do in the big way. But he's going to need that support, that bench support and that support from those other guys getting double-doubles. Jalen Duran showing up. Tobias Harris has been a constant. But that's the separation. When whichever team is going to get the support from their supporting cast and get great defense but a scoring punch, I feel like that's the team that's going to win. And when you look over to the Cleveland Cavaliers, you're going to have the same situation. You know that Donovan Mitchell has pretty much been the constant, and then you have James Harden as well. Those two guys have been the big guys up front. But they need the Max Strus. When Max Strus can hit 4 or 5 or 6 threes and go get 20 and play great defense, they need the double-double capability from Mobley, and they need Allen to be a threat defensively at that rim. So those are the differences. If those teams get support from their others, that's the separation for me in this series.
And when you talk about Cleveland, they need to take care of the basketball, cut down on those turnovers. That certainly would help. By the way, Game 7, Sunday night, 8 Eastern. Q's going to be back with us a little bit later. Preview the Western Conference.